All right, my friends, I'm sure most of you have heard by now, but Kamala Harris went to Augusta, Georgia for a photo op to look at the wreckage and the carnage caused by Hurricane Helene, and she only offered $750. The fact that Kamala Harris had the audacity to show up and offer $750 like that was a gift, like that was a prize, $750 wouldn't even cover her bar tab. $750? When Kamala Harris goes to Chile, she probably spends more on bottomless margaritas, but nonetheless, let's move on. Now, you guys know by now that I'm not owned by the RNC or the DNC. The only thing I'm beholden to is the truth, and the fact of the matter is, Kamala Harris always looks bored when she has to interact with everyday Americans. Now, to jog your memory, the reason it took Kamala Harris days to go see the wreckage and carnage caused by Hurricane Helene, she was in California doing celebrity fundraisers. She was also taping a podcast with Alex Cooper called Call Her Daddy. Now, what's going on with Hurricane Helene is very reminiscent of what happened with Maui and the fires and also East Palestine, Ohio. Now, I talk about this all the time, but in America right now, we really have reached the peak of taxation without representation. We pay our taxes, we play by the rules, but the folks in Washington, D.C. have racked up $35 trillion in debt, and now FEMA doesn't have enough money to take care of the people affected by Hurricane Helene. These are hardworking Americans, tax-paying citizens, residents of the United States. Now, the folks at the White House are really trying to say that FEMA hasn't spent any money on illegal migrants, but let's look at the Shelter and Services Program. This is just fiscal year 2024, but we see $650 million for the Shelter and Services Program, which goes to illegal migrants in this country. Why can't we find the money to help those affected by Hurricane Helene? Now, since posting about Hurricane Helene a few days ago, I have received thousands of messages from some people affected by the hurricane and others who can't get in touch with their loved ones because their phones are dead and they don't have any cell service. I also saw in the news earlier today, a Good Samaritan tried to check some people into a hotel who've lost their homes, they've lost everything, and they were told by hotel security the hotel was taken over by FEMA employees. Now, I'm going to try to say this without getting more upset than I already am. We have spent trillions of dollars on wars in the Middle East since the early 2000s. Since February of 2022, we have spent hundreds of billions on the war in Ukraine, a country that 99% of Americans will never visit. I've posted about this for the last year. We are paying to keep small businesses open in Ukraine. Well, you know who just lost their small businesses? Tons of people affected by Hurricane Helene. The last thing I'll say is this. Congress couldn't even pass more funding for Hurricane Helene because they're not in session until after Election Day. They are off for the next 30 days. So when the folks in the federal government in Washington, D.C. fail everyday Americans, the one thing I am always awed by is the resiliency and the resolve of people coming together and helping each other on a local level. It's sad to say, but millions of Americans have given up on Joe Biden or the folks in Washington, D.C. coming to save them. Americans are coming together right now and helping each other across party lines. Republicans and Democrats saying, do you need water? Do you need a place to stay? Do you need to use my internet? Do you need to use my phone? Do you need to use my car? How can I help you? That is what gives me hope for the future of this country. All right, thanks for liking and following. I'll continue to talk about Hurricane Helene even when the mainstream media moves on. Drop a comment, tell me what you're going through, tell me how people can help, tell me if you've gotten any assistance from FEMA. I will see you on the next one. Bye.